Martian.
I told my boy go hold like 10 blunts for me. I told my boy go hold like 10 blunts for me.
Hey guys, Martian616 back again with another video, and today's video is actually a pretty interesting one. We are talking about the death of the new gods, so please stick around to the end of the video to understand how everything unveils itself. We start things off with Big Barda and Mr. Miracle stopping a robbery. Let me give you guys a quick backstory here. So Mr. Miracle is actually the son of High Father. If you've watched my previous video on Orion, I think you would know this. You will know that he grew up with Oluwa Darkseid, because of there was a war between High Father's people, who are the people that live on New Genesis, and the people of Oluwa Darkseid who live on Apocalypse. And they traded Orion and Mr. Miracle as a kind of truce to end the war. And he grew up hating Apocalypse, so he had this great idea, right, to escape Apocalypse. And under the rule of Darkseid, that would be near impossible, right? But he was aided by Big Barda, one of Darkseid's army generals. In fact, I think it should be his main army general, right? She was one of the strongest among all of them and the most trusted. And he pulled off the greatest escape ever known to anyone, right? And he left and headed for Earth. So Big Barda, for the first time, started feeling emotions. I mean, there's even this rumor I saw online where if you smile on Apocalypse, Darkseid beheads you, or he sentences you to death, something like that. So for her to be feeling emotions for the first time, it's nothing new. It's nothing too much out of the ordinary, I guess, for her. And she decided she would quit working for Darkseid and head off to find Mr. Miracle. Now let me just cut a long story short. They got married, occasionally fought crime. They didn't really come out that much anyway. And Mr. Miracle became this kind of magician. Should I call him magician? More like an escape artist, right? That's how he earned his name anyway. That's how he earned the name Mr. Miracle, because he was an escape artist. He did shit that no one could do, right? So back to the story. Shortly after they stopped the robbery, we transitioned to Metron, who is going out of his fucking mind. Why is he anxious, you may wonder? Well, let's find out together. Shortly after, we see Orion standing over a dead body, and Tachyon is also there standing over the dead body. The person who is murdered here is a new god. Tachyon is also a new god. He's actually the one who is known to be the closest to the source, right? The source is this entity that they worship. Is the source of all life in DC. It gives power to it gives life to everything in DC, from the new gods to human beings to everything you can think of. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have Crisis Energy, but that's not for today. We then meet Oluwa Darkseid and Metron, who Metron came to meet Darkseid, right? He feels unease. He feels an unease in the universe and suspects that Darkseid is aware something big is happening, or maybe Darkseid is involved. I mean, Darkseid is the big bad of DC, and yes, Darkseid is very much aware. Darkseid is not slacking. Matter of fact, Darkseid is actually very smart. He's no pushover. He's really, really smart. But he decides to reveal nothing to Metron, and tells Metron to go find his knowledge somewhere else. He doesn't want to let Metron know anything. So we go back to Mr. Miracle. He walks into the house, with his goods and everything. He probably went shopping and shit. And he sees his wife's lifeless body on the floor. Bro, this was sad. He is enraged and he decides to go back to New Genesis to find out what's happening. He brings Superman along. I mean, he did let the Justice League know what was happening, and Superman, being the nice guy that he is, decides to accompany his friend to Apocalypse. So back at New Genesis, the gang is ready. Everyone is sad, and they are wondering. They are perplexed, right? What's happening? Why are the new gods dying? What's going on? And while all this is happening, Orion sees Superman, and Orion he's the proud type, right? He's like his dad. He gets angry easily, and he's very, very proud too. He has this feud with Superman, right? He has this very short feud with Superman. And you can see Tachyon in the background being yeeted by Orion. And this is then interrupted by Metron. And Orion insists that Darkseid is behind the whole situation. But Metron, who has already contacted Darkseid, knows that Darkseid is in fact not behind all this. He knows that Darkseid knows something, but he knows that Darkseid isn't behind the death of the new gods. He explains all this to them, right? And they then make a plan to go and confront Darkseid to extract information from him, while Metron and Tachyon go look for information somewhere else. So Orion, Superman, and Mr. Miracle go to confront Darkseid. Now, before we move further, understand that Mr. Miracle has the anti-life equation in its totality. And like I explained in the Orion video, every being alive bends to the will of the anti-life, especially the new gods. This also applies to human beings and a lot of other beings, but some have been shown to resist this phenomenon, right? They have shown resistance to it, but this isn't it's not really a frequent occurrence, you know. And Mr. Miracle doesn't want Superman to know yet that he has the anti-life, because he doesn't want the Green Lanterns to get involved and overcomplicate issues. So he didn't use it in Superman's presence. Darkseid has partial control of the anti-life, and so they bust into the room where Darkseid is in. Darkseid is absolutely pretending to be surprised and all that. And then Darkseid thinks he has the upper hand since he has half of the anti-life equation. But his virgin version of the anti-life equation is nothing even close to the charred version of Mr. Miracle's power. And he is easily overpowered by Orion, right? And another thing is, since he has partial understanding of the anti-life equation, he doesn't have to do everything the anti-life says, but he is still restricted to a certain amount. So he reveals nothing to them, since he's not obligated to say anything, since he can resist the anti-life a little bit, since he knows part of it. I hope you guys didn't get confused with that. Anyway, they end up going empty-handed to meet Tachyon, who, instead of being empty-handed, he's empty-hearted because his soul has been yeeted from his body. He's dead. He's dead. They then choose to go and meet the Forever People to question them, because they feel like they were also murdered, you know. Or no, they didn't feel it. Ah, fuck, I just spoiled the story for you guys. Sorry, they didn't know they were murdered. They just wanted to go and question the Forever People in case they knew anything about this, because Infinity Man is part of the Forever People or whatever. And keep that in mind as we go forward, because this is actually very important. Mr. Miracle then, takes them there, and all they just see are dead bodies. They just see every single one of the Forever People dead, and they come up kind of short, right? They don't know what to do. And then Mr. Miracle suggests that he uses the anti-life to question their dead bodies or whatnot, to see their memories, to look through their memories first. He tried to look through their memories, and he was able to see them dying and everything, but he couldn't see the killer. He tried to force them to say who the killer is or to reveal the killer, but they couldn't reveal the killer. And since they couldn't reveal the killer, they disintegrated. This is why the anti-life is so powerful. When you refuse to obey the anti-life, you die. You die. Even if you're dead, something worse happens to you. Okay, the anti-life is not to be fucked with. This is going to be debunked very soon. And then we then find out that the killer is revealed to be the Source, right? The Source approaches Metron and reveals that he is in fact the killer. And in the midst of all this, Kalibak attacks New Genesis. Kalibak is the second son of Darkseid. I fucking hate the guy. The guy is useless. He comes with some grasshopper looking guy. I've forgotten his fucking name. I don't know. He looks silly as fuck. And they have a fight with Superman. Superman kind of beats them, while Superman brawls with him for a while. And Orion just steps in. He just flies in out of nowhere, and then there's a huge flash. And the killer takes this opportunity to kill Kalibak and his grasshopper friend, who are supposed to be new gods. I don't know how the fuck this grasshopper guy is a new god. I don't know if they are giving the title of new gods to fucking insects as well, but I don't give a fuck. And it's kind of makes it look like Orion did it. I mean, Orion is the one that attacked them. There was a big flash, they are both Calivac and the Grasshopper guy both look dead, and Orion is nowhere to be found, right? So if you do basic math, 1 plus 1 is 2. Orion is not here, so he's probably the killer. And then Mr. Miracle then goes to confront Orion with Superman. That's when they realize that Orion isn't the killer, and Orion went away simply to bait the killer to come after him at another location, which is actually the moon. Not too long after, they follow the plan, but sadly Orion is killed and the killer reveals himself to Mr. Miracle as Superman. And instead of it to be the source, it's actually revealed he actually disguises himself as Infinity Man. He then fought with Mr. Miracle, and their fight ends up being it ends up breaking the source wall. I'll talk about the source wall in another video, but just know it keeps a lot of secrets to the multiverse behind it, and the source wall traps anyone who tries to get those secrets. Like the source wall just traps you and then you're there forever, and when you gods die, they actually go to the source wall. Okay, that's that. Okay, so when they break the source wall, the anti-life entity, it's different from the anti-life equation. Okay, oh god, I don't want to make you guys confused, but let me just quickly explain. The anti-life entity is part of the source. It's a being that is like there's always good and there's evil. So if the source, right, represents all life, there's obviously going to be the opposite of it, and the opposite of it would be the anti-life, right? So the anti-life is actually half of the source. So the source and the anti-life entity kind of fused together, and that was the source's goal from the beginning. The source's goal was to get back part of his form, and for him to do that, he needed a lot of energy from the death of the new gods, and he also needed the person with the anti-life equation to fight Infinity Man, right? Those were the conditions he needed. Also, he didn't like the new gods because they caused a lot of grief. They went to war so many times. They did a lot of stuff that pissed him off. They made him really angry. It's kind of like human beings to God. Every day people are killing themselves, committing all these crimes, and God is turning a blind eye. And then one day God decides, all right, all of you are going to die. So that's basically what happens here. So when the anti-life comes out, it kind of fuses back with the source, and that's where the source reveals himself to Mr. Miracle finally. And Superman is knocked out because while the source wall was breaking, it released a huge chunk of energy which made reality to kind of warp itself, right? So it kind of knocked Superman out. I mean, Superman is not a new god, so he reveals himself to Mr. Miracle, who is then like very sad and angry because he always worshipped the source, and the source is the person who killed his wife anyway. So he just tells the source to end his life anyway, and Metron follows suit. Metron says he has seen enough, he has gathered enough knowledge. Okay, I think I didn't explain Metron before, but Metron is this guy that likes going around and getting information and getting all this knowledge from the universe. So he also dies as well, and these were the last two new gods to be alive, and they die on the spot. They just die there. And now that both of them are dead, he then heads for Oluwa Darkseid. He gets there, and Darkseid reveals that he was also prepared. He also further reveals that he had obtained something more powerful than the anti-life equation. Ooh, what could this be? This is called the Soulfire formula. I will also explain that another time, but just know it boosts his abilities way more than it's supposed to. He's extremely powerful when he's with the Soulfire formula. He proceeds to smack the shit out of the source, and I didn't even know who to support here, because on one side we have Oluwa Darkseid, who is just defending himself, trying to live, and we have the source. The source is this flat out genocidal maniac, right? So I'm so confused. Who should I support? But I don't care, because their fight is destroying everything, and Paul Superman is just a bystander. He's just looking at them and like, damn, I'm probably like Green Arrow. I probably feel like Green Arrow in the Justice League. That's how Superman is here, And then when the source is restrained rather by Darkseid, Superman thinks it's a bright idea to, you know, attack him. He attacks him, and then for a while I was like, oh shit, he actually did it. He actually did some damage to Darkseid, and he really did nothing to Darkseid. Darkseid immediately turned around, busted his lasers at him, and then Superman ends up knocked out again. This is the second time this guy is getting knocked out. And then Orion flies in out of nowhere and slaps Darkseid. After a well drawn out fight, the Source is then let free. Apocalypse and New Genesis merge, and the Source disappears. Superman then, you know, really he kind of talks to Orion for a while that why what's all this, what's the meaning of all this that's happening. Orion doesn't give him any answer and also disappears, and that's really the end of the story. All the new gods are dead. Well, they do come back after Final Crisis, but that's a story for another day. And anytime I'm going to do the Final Crisis video, just keep in mind that I'm also going to cover Cosmic Armored Superman. I know that sounds really cool, right? So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up, leave a nice comment, like, I don't know, oh wow, Orion is an absolute chad. Yeah, that would be a great comment. And yeah, I'll catch you all later.